Hey guys, what's going on? First things first, I'm not making this video for revenge or bad blood or to talk smack or anything like that. I'm making this video to clear the air because I'm sure if I didn't make this video, the questions will just start flying in. So yeah, I got fired from CJ Pony Parts, or CJ Off-Road as some of you might know. 2.5 years ago, I got a job there doing video, just like what I do for Poor Man Mods, hosting video. Big thanks to Bill Toomis for getting me that job. For the 2.5 years I was there, I really did enjoy it. I enjoyed the job that I did, but the executives there didn't make it a pleasant or comfortable work environment, so to speak. The entire time I was there, I felt like I was on the chopping block. The entire time, it seemed like they always looked for a reason to fire someone, and the person who ultimately made the decision to fire me, he would walk around and tell people that you are replaceable. Don't think that you're safe here. Basically, you can be fired at any second for the littlest thing. You can easily be replaced, and they would tell you that. So because of that feeling, after about 6 months, I started looking for other work, and I had a job lined up, and when I put my 2 weeks in, they gave me a counter offer which I couldn't refuse, so I decided to stay. But I did voice my concerns that it felt like I was on the chopping block the entire time, and I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel comfortable working there. Like, I lived really far away. I would drive about 114 miles every day to get there, 57 miles each way. And a lot of people wondered why I wouldn't move or relocate to be closer, and it's because I didn't feel secure there. I didn't have any sense of job security. I saw how the employees were treated, especially the people in the warehouse. They were treated as numbers and not people. And the person who ultimately fired me, the president of the company, I had a conversation with him one day. Somehow we got on the topic of commuting, and I mentioned how far I commuted. And he told me it's time to make the commitment and move closer. And I basically told him, this was maybe a year into my employment, that I didn't feel comfortable doing that because of how people are treated. And he didn't really have anything to say about it because he knows how he treats people. So everyone knew that. Like, if I would have relocated to that place, it would have just been a bad decision, because I looked at it like, if I was going to buy a house and move closer, I'd be committing 30 years to that, because I'd be committing to a 30-year mortgage. And I know they wouldn't even commit a week to me. They would never promise to keep me for X amount of time or whatever. Like, they always try to find a way to get rid of you, it seems like. They like hiring new people. I don't know why. So it would have been a very bad idea to relocate, which I'm glad I didn't. So I was there 2.5 years, and a lot of you guys know that recently I was the host of the off-road side. So there's CJ Pony Parts, which does videos for Mustang, Focus, Fiesta, things like that. And that's where I started. I did a couple videos with the Mustang, did a couple Focus videos, ST and RS, did a couple Fiesta videos, but then we broke into off-road, which was truck and Jeep, and that's where I really was full-time for the majority of the time I was there. So I was the face of off-road, and I've done over, I think, close to 4,000 videos for them, if you add up everything. About 4,000 videos. And when I first got hired there, it was 4 of us. It was me, the other videographer, Bill, and an editor. And by the time I left, it was double the size. So we grew a lot, and I know I contributed a lot to the company. I brought in a lot of new ideas. I really got their YouTube going. We saw a ton of growth with the channel. I brought in, just new ideas for videos and how to tag everything right, and titles and thumbnails. Like, I really helped to grow the channel, and it showed. We were making better sales because of the videos. And even with the commenting, I think the last week that I was there, just having a conversation with someone in the comments, I made the company like $2,000 off of one person, just talking to him in the comments. So I contributed a lot to this company. So the reason I got fired, a lot of people don't believe it. They think there's more to it, but there really isn't. And what I'm about to tell you is the absolute truth. So we were going off-road to compare the new Jeep JLs, the 4-cylinder turbo versus the V6. And we went to AOAA Anthracite Off-Road Adventure Area to go off-roading, legit off-roading, and compare the 4-cylinder and the 6-cylinder. I was driving the 6-cylinder at the time, and Matt was driving the 4-cylinder Jeep. And we finished filming. We went through a bunch of rocks and hit some trails and everything to kind of look at the power and torque between the two to see which one was better at rock climbing and such. So we filmed everything we needed to, so then it was a little bit of playtime. We were driving down, it was basically an access road, a couple miles long, pure gravel, like super tiny pebbles. It wasn't like your typical dirt or gravel road. It was almost like I think it was a coal road, actually. So the road we were going down was littered with giant puddles, almost the size of like small ponds. I would say, they were 15 to 20 feet wide and equally as long, maybe a little bit shorter, and averaging between 8 inches to a foot deep with water. And we were having a good time. We were driving side by side, going through these puddles, splashing and everything, just having a good time. And we get to the end, and there's like the mother puddle, and it pretty much spans the entire road, at least 30 feet wide, 15, 20 feet long. Matt goes through first, and it's deeper. I would say it's at least 18 inches, and he goes through, and mind you, I'm not an experienced off-roader with Jeeps. I've done it a couple times, but I'm not as seasoned as he is. And I see him go through first, and he's going extremely slow, so slow that I thought he was stuck or getting stuck, and I know hindsight is 20/20. And so I'm maybe 100 feet back at this point when I see him going through it really slow. And so I decide to go at it faster because I don't want to get stuck. Once again, hindsight is 20/20. And I decide to go through it quicker, maybe 15, 20 miles an hour, something like that. I just wanted to hit it and get through it to make sure I didn't get stuck in the center, because I'm pretty sure the Jeep I was in had inferior tires to the ones that he had. So that was my legitimate thinking, is I wanted to go through this faster so I wouldn't get stuck. Well, it turns out that the Jeep I was driving had an in-gen cold air intake on it, and it was significantly more open than the factory airbox, which Matt had in his Jeep, and the opening for it was about 8 inches lower than the factory intake. So I'm sure that you can guess what happened next is I sucked up water because I went through it quicker and locked up the engine. I almost got through it. We were still in the water by the time the engine stopped. And I didn't know right away what happened. I thought maybe I just stalled it. So, I tried to turn it back on, and I didn't even hear the starter click, like it just wouldn't do anything. So we're like, oh damn. And we tow it out of the access road to the parking lot. And, it was my fault. So I used my AAA to get it towed from the off-road park to CJ Pony Parts. So it was a 57-mile tow that they didn't have to pay for. So I got it towed back to our shop, and I tore it apart, took the intake manifold off and everything, looked inside the cylinders, tried to blow all the water out that I could, and determine what happened. And, I figured out that I could only turn the engine about half a rotation in either way. So pretty much determined that hydrolocked the engine, bent a connecting rod. So I put it back together, and we send it off to the dealer to see if they can fix it or warranty it or whatever. And at this point, my boss knows what's going on. I don't think he knew that the engine was necessarily bad at this point, but I'm pretty sure he knew that we were off-roading, locked up. Pretty sure he knew that we were off-roading and it stopped working. We towed it, looked at it, couldn't fix it, and sent it off to the dealer. So at this point, I'm not catching any heat yet. When I catch the heat is everyone gets back from SEMA and it's at the dealership and they call in to say that it needs a new engine and it's $5,200 to replace it. And to me, actually, that's cheaper than what I was thinking. And so Bill, my boss, clearly not happy about that. He goes and tells, I guess, his boss or the president of the company or whatever. The president's who's fired me. The president is the guy who fired me. So I guess I don't know exactly what the president was thinking, but when he heard that it was a $5,200 bill, he decided to fire me because of that. Even though I offered to try to fix it, I offered to pay for it. So he didn't fire me directly. What happened was Bill and the guy above him came back to my office and called me out and told me that because of what I did to the Jeep, they had to fire me. And they both told me that they didn't want it to happen and it was their only option, and basically were telling me that it was the president that made the decision and those two were fighting for me. Even though I didn't do it intentionally and it had the aftermarket intake, which is what I'm blaming 70% of it on, because it's not designed for water. Like the factory intake can take some water. The engine one just sucked it right up and I didn't know it was on there. So I didn't do any of this intentionally. I guess the president thought I did, or he figured because it was a $5,200 bill that he didn't think his $60 million company could afford it. So they fired me because of that. Yeah, even though I offered to pay for it, offered to fix it, they claimed it was their only option to fire me. So that's why I got fired, because I locked up the engine of the Jeep while we were off-road, which is what our job was. Makes sense, I guess. So, yeah, I mean, I love the guys I worked with. Bill, Ryan, Justin, Steve, Layman, Brendan, loved all those guys. We were definitely like a family. None of them were happy to see me go. I know Bill, my boss, was not happy at all to see me go. There wasn't anything he could do. And, you know, we were like a family because we were together for so long, but also our office was extremely small. We were very close together, always working with each other and interacting with each other. I haven't had like a bond like that since I played football in high school. It was definitely like a family there. So it was not easy. It was not easy for me to get fired. And we all went out to lunch after I got fired. Everyone left early, and we all went, I guess, to celebrate my last moments there. So, yeah, that is what happened. I got fired because I essentially did my job. Went off-road, because that's what we were doing that day, and the engine intake sucked up water. So yeah, that's why I got fired. So Quadratech, American Muscle, anyone, if you need a video host and you're watching, hit me up. Yeah, so I hope that answers your guys' questions. I know a lot of you were fans of me on here and also over at CJ's, so that's why I made this video. So hope this cleared up some questions, and that was the 100% truth. And yeah, I will see you next time. Maybe I'll have a job the next time we see each other. Peace.